Dearly beloved.
Where do we start with all things start outside of a quick stop? RST video. Two dudes, me and you right now, John, hanging out. Me smoking a weed. You not smoking weed, not drinking. Me possibly drinking. Hanging out and bothering customers as they walk in. We're talking Kevin Smith. Not just his View Askew, but other movies as well, and kind of get into the nitty-gritty a little bit. Lately, I'll be honest with you, I wouldn't say I'm not happy with him. A lot of people are not happy with him, with the remake of He-Man, I guess, which is, I don't know what your take is on this, John, but the way that I look at it, it's like any new take is a new take, but then going back to like this whole movies pop-up debacle, like they're not even advertising for this shit anymore because people have realized how bad it is. But that's actually not Kevin Smith's fault. It's the guy that's running it who he should fire immediately. But we'll get into that a little bit later.
Would you equate it to the Fire Festival? How bad
Yes.
it is?
Oh my God. Yeah. Whoa. I just fucking realized that the food, I will be honest, the food was really good and we got the Beyond Burgers.
Yeah.
But other than that, it was kind of, it just wasn't impressive. It didn't have to be. I know that these startups were created to help struggling restaurants, but they did it at a restaurant that really wasn't struggling, and a lot of people hate as is. It's like a fucking shitty Tigers sports bar, which is fine. You know, if you're going to a Tigers game, you want to get a beer before the game, yeah, go there. But the way that they had all this set up, and then people like fucking going up there because they couldn't find a bathroom, or the bathrooms downstairs were decimated. I don't know what the fuck happened. And then people like fucking ladies with their Karen haircuts just blowing out the fucking bathroom. It's like, let me speak to your manager. It was not what I hoped it was going to be. But at the same time, you know, Kevin Smith, 100%, one of my favorite filmmakers.
Yeah.
From when I was a kid. Do you remember the first thing you saw of his?
Clerks.
Throughout history, they have been a part of our American life. Men and women who have made it their mission to serve their fellow man. They've worked hard enough. Isn't it time they had their own movie? Clerks. Just because they serve you doesn't mean they like you.
It was Clerks?
Yeah, Clerks was the first thing that I saw of Kevin Smith. But, it wasn't like I was paying attention. I was just like, what is this funky film that I'm looking at that's in black and white?
Exactly.
Kevin, to be honest, his films, I like them, but I like the person. I like his podcast a lot better because you're listening to him tell stories with his best friend, and I really like listening to that. So I would say that Clerks got me into Kevin Smith. The podcast kept me into Kevin Smith.
Is it Smodcast Podcast Network?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Kevin Smith, director, comedian too, because he did some stand-up evening with Kevin Smith. That's how I started getting back into, well, actually, I was never not into him. Very popularized with the View Askew universe, which was honestly one of the first universes. If you go through the movies, people are tied to one another.
Yes.
In every single movie. The first film I ever saw of his was Dogma, and it was on pay-per-view, and my mom rented it on pay-per-view, and it blew me away. How funny it was, how ridiculous it was.
Yeah.
He has been making films with a lot of the same people, and he's produced a lot of great films too. Executive produced Good Will Hunting, along with his longtime producing partner, Scott Mosier.
Yeah.
They co-founded View Askew Productions.
You have to, it's an acquired taste with Kevin Smith, but it's not like you can't find a film that, Chasing Amy was another good one that I didn't really enjoy until adulthood because it hit a little bit harder when you're an adult and you're watching something like that.
Quintessential 90s movies is kind of how I felt. Like the whole alternative scene encompassed in a film was Clerks, which came out in 1994. And do you know why it was in black and white?
I don't know.
It was because color film costs more money. So he basically sold all his comic book collections and all these collectibles and whatnot that he had in order to help produce this film.
Yeah.
And then,
Miramax?
Miramax, yeah, for, good old Weinstein. Whoop.
I know, yeah.
And that is kind of, well, the thing too is like Kevin Smith, Tarantino, and some people might not say the same, Paul Thomas Anderson, they all kind of came out at the same time. It was this independent filmmaker group that came out around the same time. The Reservoir Dogs, I think maybe came out in 92 or 93, and Kevin Smith with Clerks in 94. It was a great time for movies, a ridiculous time for movies.
Yeah, early 90s films were on point. You had a lot of violence and colorful characters. Like you said, Reservoir Dogs was 1992. I don't remember when Pulp Fiction came out, but it was in the 90s. So needless to say, the 90s was a fantastic time for films and these independent film writers come out. Spike Lee was another guy who had films coming out around that time. And cool thing about it is that's who Kevin Smith drew a lot of his inspiration from, was from these independent directors, people such as, like I said, Spike Lee. He looked at Jim Jarmusch.
Jim
Jarmusch and Hal Hartley. These were all different people who were independent filmmakers.
Yeah, Jim Jarmusch did Coffee and Cigarettes, Broken Flowers. Most recently,
The Dead Don't Die. And he also did another good one, Ghost Dog, The Way of the Samurai.
Yeah, Forrest Whitaker.
Forrest Whitaker. Yeah, Forrest Whitaker.
You know what? I never saw that movie. Mainly, everyone tells me how good of a movie it is, and this is the terrible reason why I never saw it was because I couldn't believe him as an actor because of his lazy eye.
Oh, man.
I know.
And the thing is, people give him such a hard time, man, but he's such a good actor.
He is a fucking fantastic actor. And then, I think maybe this weekend I'll rent that and watch it and give it a chance, because I think everyone tells me I'd like it.
He's in the TV series now, Godfather of Harlem, playing Bumpy Johnson,
who was also played by Denzel Washington.
Yeah, was he? Clarence Washington III, the guy from Mod Squad,
he played Bumpy. Yeah, and then Denzel was his right hand.
American Gangster.
Yep.
That's who that was. But Kevin Smith is a guy that I said earlier is the gatekeeper for people like us, pop culture fanatics and people who are fascinated with nostalgia. Yeah, not
just that, but this guy's a historian about film. Same thing with Spike Lee. All great filmmakers are historians of film. But not only that, comic books. He's written comic books. He's also a comic, right? He is just all around nerd, encompassing nerd god in a sense.
Absolutely. He has a podcast called Fat Man on Batman. So he talks about Batman and everything that's come out. He's such a fan. I mean, even his daughter's name is Harley Quinn. Yep. So I think that goes to show comic book people or people who are into comic books will find a way to name their children after their characters like that. Because my son's middle name is Kal-El. So, it's just if you're a fan or if you can sneak one under the radar. So, yeah, it's funny because he does Comic Book Guys on A&E. I don't know if that series still come on.
It's not. It was canceled, I want to say 2016.
That sucks, man.
Maybe later. It lasted 6 seasons, which was, they didn't even think it was going to last a season. Yeah. But I loved it. I loved it too, just because of all the collectibles, all the toys, the comics and shit.
And I think it inspires people because, some folks find themselves not wanting to branch out into that type of nerddom. But then you see a show like that or you hear people talking about it and you're like, well, I'm an adult. I can do that, for people who listen out there in podcast land, I'm a collector. I love to collect. Kevin Smith is the reason why I collect, because of his fascination with comics and everything like that. I love to do stuff like that. Now, I'm more Marvel. I know he likes to discuss DC.
Yeah, he is definitely a DC underdog. He's
done a Marvel DVD of Gods and Monsters, so he did do that. I don't know what year that came out.
He also wrote a Daredevil series, right? I know he did Green Arrow.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he did a Daredevil run for a little bit.
I wonder if he was on Ben Affleck's Daredevil.
He was a producer. I think he was a producer or executive producer.
Okay.
Which, if you get the director's cut, it's not that bad.
You know what, man? A lot of movies that came out before Marvel hit its stride, I'm not going to sit here and say that they were bad. They were good for the time that they came out in, except for Green Lantern. Green Lantern.
Oh, shit. Yeah, that was garbage.
That was bad.
Question. How did you feel about Michael Clark Duncan as Kingpin?
Well, I think that it was good. I remember where I was working at the time, it was a lot of people pissed because they're like, oh, they couldn't find a big white guy to do that. I'm like, come on, man. He's not a real character. I've heard the argument that anybody can play any character.
Follow-up question. With that being said, follow-up question. How do you feel about the Michael B. Jordan Superman movie?
I don't care too much for it. I was actually talking to one of our podcast friends on Twitter about this months ago, where I said that he could have played Val-Zod. Val-Zod is the black Superman who was adopted by Jor-El, and he got sent to Earth about the same time as Kara.
Is this like a different universe? In the original, is this fucking Kal-El? That's it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the New 52 does that, so the New 52 for DC.
I was going to say, it's like...
Yeah, I mean, they in the comic books era of trying to have inclusion for all characters of color, Val-Zod was entered in, and he was more of a pacifist Superman. Mm-hmm. So I thought they could have went that route, man. Or they could have just did another Steel, to be honest.
Holy shit, I forgot about that.
Yeah, Steel is a movie that, no matter how you slice it, no matter where it comes out at, Shaq is not a good actor. I'm sorry.
Man, Shaq will always be my Steel. He steals my heart.
He barely had me with Shazam, to be honest, but...
Wait. Wasn't it Kazam?
Oh, Kazam. Yeah.
You're talking Shazam is the Sinbad movie, right?
Sinbad,
or anyone
yeah.
that believes in the Mandela effect.
Oh, yeah, there you go. So, yeah, Kazam. I am Kazam. So, yeah, because let us not forget, in ancient Arabia, they had boom boxes that were the shape of genie lamps.
Yes, exactly. And unless we forget Shaq Fu, but I digress.
Yes. So going back to Kevin Smith, I remember him doing an interview about being approached to direct the Superman film. And in the interview, he talked about how the producer of the time wanted a spider. He wanted Superman to fight a giant spider. And he's like, that's stupid. So he ends up walking away from it. And that producer ends up working on
the Wild Wild West.
Wild Wild West.
Yeah.
He said, lo and behold,
there's a big fucking spider.
So there it is. And I will tell you that Kevin Smith made an excellent choice. It was Superman Returns, I think. Or was it because Nicolas Cage was supposed to be in it, right?
Superman Lives is what it was called. Yeah.
And if you ever see the stills for it, Nicolas Cage looked great in that costume.
Long-haired Superman. Yeah, I thought it looked cool, and it was definitely interesting as to like how it was going to progress. I found it to be pretty intriguing, and there is a documentary out about it. So just to talk a little more of his the films that or how he got his start. He's originally from Red Bank. He met Jason Mewes, who you also know as Jay in the View SQ universe. Met him at a youth center. They'd been friends since they were little, had a mutual interest in comic books. Yeah, like you were saying, he had an interest in film at a young age. He attended Vancouver Film School. That's where he met Scott Mosier and Dave Klein. He created Clerks in 1994. There's other films after that. His second film was Mallrats. You have Chasing Amy. Dogma, I think, is next. But there's this one that I don't know if you have seen it. It's Vulgar. Did anyone see that? I saw it.
I didn't see.
Oh my!
I didn't see it.
It was basically, he didn't direct that film, but I know he produced it and did a lot for it. It was basically about a clown that gets raped.
Ooh.
And the clown gets revenge on these guys and basically kills them.
Ooh, shit. That is...
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's like...
Fox Family.
Fox Family. Yeah. Hey, but I was going to say, I didn't know that his film setup for Clerks was based off of A Day in the Life, like Do the Right Thing. That's where he got the idea from for Clerks, as a day in the life thing from Spike.
Oh, you're talking, yeah, Do the Right Thing. Then because he did work at that Quick Stop in Leonardo, New Jersey, because that's where they ended up built the Smod Castle there too. Anyways, as we progress, Dogma was next after that, and then
Jay and Silent Bob was Strike Back was next, but Dogma was funny.
I thought Dogma was his best.
Yeah, Dogma was really good.
You have the introduction of Buddy Jesus.
Yeah, Buddy Christ.
Or Buddy Christ, yeah.
Catholicism.
Cut
Wow.
that. So the characters, Jay and Silent Bob, was kind of built around their friendship, and Jason Mewes had some struggles with, he was an addict and whatnot, and he, as far as I know, to this day is sober, has remained sober since then. They just released, and we're talking like View Askew universe right now, but we're going to get into some of his other films and other forays into entertainment. His comedic timing for not really being an actor. Now in Clerks, you didn't really see it. Mallrats got better. You could still see that he's not that quick, but like the snickety snick, like Wolverine, snickety snick, berserker, and then Brody explaining exactly what he was doing, and I'm like, that would be something that I would do. I remember being a kid and going, like, hanging out at the mall. It was so fucking... And no kids do that anymore. You don't go to the mall.
You don't see that, yeah.
Yeah, it's like we would go there to hang out with our friends that worked in the mall. We'd do some shopping, or we'd go eat, or we would just walk. It was so fucking stupid.
Yeah.
But at the same time, enjoyed the shit out of it. You just walk around, come back, and that's it. Just walk around in a circle.
Yeah. I remember going to Fairlane Mall on Fridays and walking around, and that's back when people used to get into fights at the bus stop. So, they'd be at the bus stop out there, and the police would have to show up. I don't think...
How about Northland?
Oh, Northland is another one, yeah. So, and then you had Eastland out there where I was at, and Eastland, that was like slim pickings.
Was that like Thunderdome or something?
Yeah, something like that. But you could still go walk around. I don't know, man. I haven't been out that way in a long time, so I don't know what it looks like now, the mall scene out that way. But like you said, Aaron, you don't find a lot of kids wanting to go out and walk at the mall. Like, I find that we've become more of we want to be more immersed in self rather than around people. So, we're becoming a very misanthropic type of generation.
I've realized I have to be around people. People give me life. They're, water, spray me, and then I get to hang out and just talk to people.
Yeah, a little spritz.
A little spritz. Not pee-pees, just, talking, communication. But
so Kevin Smith, Mallrats, I got introduced to that in college, I think.
Well, real quick, Mallrats commercially flopped, and basically as you're going on to Chasing Amy, which was based on his relationship in part with his then girlfriend who played the lead role. Yeah, you heard a podcast he was on that I can't recall.
Wait. The lead... Oh, she played the lead role
in Chasing Amy.
Was his girlfriend, but she wasn't the actual actress.
The actress who was in the lead role in Chasing Amy was Kevin Smith's girlfriend at the time.
Joey Lauren Adams. Yeah.
He was writing that after he did Clerks in the middle of filming Mallrat, and it's basically, he said every scene is like an apology to his girlfriend because he felt insecure that she was going to leave him. She was a little bit more famous, and he just thought at any point she was just going to leave him for somebody better. So he wrote it basically surrounding that relationship, and it was based on his producer friend Scott Mosier wanting to have a relationship with a lesbian who was named Gwen Turner, who wrote Go Fish, and that came out the same time as Clerks. So he said it was basically the lesbian version of Clerks, and they came out at the same time. And like I said, his friend wanted to date that person who wrote that film, and he just said, man, why don't you write a screenplay based on what you're going through? And his friend was like, hell no, I'm not doing that. So Kevin Smith said, well, shit, I am. And he basically convinced Weinstein to give him, he only made that film for $250K, And at first,
Holy shit.
yes, he wanted $3 million, but Mallrats flopped. So
Yep.
Weinstein was like, look, we'll give you $3 million, but we want to cast Drew Barrymore for the lead role. Oh yeah, David Schwimmer as the role of Banky. Am I saying that right?
Banksy.
Banksy.
No,
yes.
no. What? Banky. Yeah, no,
Yeah,
you're right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So basically, Weinstein and the production company were like, okay, man, you can't just, continue to cast your friends. We want well-known actors and actresses, especially after the flop you just did. And we want Jon Stewart, that was pre-Daily Show. They want him casted as Holden, the character Holden, but...
Yep, Holden McNeil.
Yeah, so Kevin Smith, being who he is, he said, well, the hell with that. I want my friends to be in these roles, and you know what? Give me $200,000. And Weinstein said, well, no, we'll give you $250K, and really, he just kind of wanted the rights, and just in case the film broke out. But that's my little tidbit about how, not Mallrats, but Chasing Amy came about a little bit.
So it was a combination of both what happened to Scott and...
yeah, he was infatuated with Gwen Turner.
Guinevere Turner. Yeah, Guinevere Turner.
They both hit it big at the same time, and like I said, it was based off his relationship with Joey Lauren Adams, who played Alyssa. And like I said, he just thought she was the bee's knees. I'm saying that. No, he didn't say that. He's not that big of a dork.
Oh, he said it. He said it.
Yeah, but he was he did say he was insecure, and he just thought at any moment she's just gonna leave, and so he just kind of wrote it as an apology almost to her. Every scene dealing with her lead character. But he said that she liked it. She did like the movie. Of course,
that's
she was in
awesome, man. It's funny how that worked, because now I gotta go into where his creativity inspired me. We were talking about the Smodcast earlier, and on the Smodcast he was talking about Tusk, which is not till later, but how he came about creating Tusk, you can just feel the raw energy of him and Scott developing this movie on the podcast, like how they're gonna go about getting the money, what the storyline was going to be.
See, I wish I would have listened to some of those episodes, because that's a lot of people were talking about that, because it was all
it was made up. It was something he looked on Twitter that came from a site called Gumtree, and it was talking about a guy. They thought it was real at the time, and it was talking about a guy who was like, you can have full run of the house, but you must be dressed like a walrus if you're going to do that. And he said, when you're dressed as the walrus, there'll be no talking. You must do all the noises and eat the fish and crab that I feed you. So Smith at the time was like, this would be a perfect Hammer horror film. Something about a guy, he said, a cuddlier version of Human Centipede. That's what Tusk would be.
Yeah. The next movie up is Dogma, which was the first film that I had ever seen, and this came out in 1999, basically about two fallen angels that come and try to impress God, bring upon the apocalypse. You have Matt Damon, Ben Affleck in the same film together. So the same year, Good Will Hunting had come out too, and that was...
They've been best friends for a long time.
They're going to be working together again on another film. I'm not sure what film, but...
Batman and Robin?
What?
I was just being facetious.
What? Oh,
Matt Damon as Robin? That would be...
But right now, I would... What is it, Matt Damon as Robin right now? He's got...
Or Nightwing. Matt Damon is Nightwing.
He would have to look like Jason Bourne again, and then Ben Affleck would have to get back into Daredevil shape, which he kind of looks like he is right now. He looks pretty gone.
Are
I
you
hope
kidding?
he's okay.
If you're dating Jennifer Lopez, you be in Daredevil shape too.
Yes, 100%.
Get him, Affleck.
Whatever you say,
I've
baby.
really grown to love that guy over the years.
Yeah,
I do too.
I think he's great. I think he's a great Batman. I think he's a great actor. He's a great writer too. That's the other thing.
And personally, I like him because he's been to hell and back. You know, he was going through alcoholism for a while. He bounced back from that, and you know, he's doing really well. So I'm happy for him, man.
He bounced off of J-Lo's butt. Like,
oh yeah.
Well, I mean,
that's a good rebound, buddy. He's like, boom, I'm back, baby.
Yeah. From A-Rod to Ben Affleck. So, hey, man, more power to you. So,
just to talk about Dogma real quick. Now, this was the one that kind of introduced me to the whole realm of the View Askew universe, which was just kind of like, I don't know. No one said it was a universe at the time, but like I said earlier on, everything was connected. Basically, the Catholic League denounced this film. It was blasphemy. Organized protests delayed its release in many countries and led to at least 2 death threats against Kevin Smith. And then right around this time, too, he met his then wife, Jennifer Schwalbach. He met right around this time. She was a journalist, and I think in An Evening with Kevin Smith, he talks about the first time that they ended up pounding it out. Well, at the time, I don't know. He was probably just laying down at the time. He's not as healthy as he is now. He was smoking and morbidly obese at the time.
yeah, he was eating popcorn jelly beans.
The fuck?
Hey, I'm serious. Like, in one of his podcasts, that's what he liked, the butter popcorn jelly bellies. And he was eating. So, hey, man, I love Kevin Smith. You know, like, he's salt of the earth.
Yeah.
But I was going to ask you, do you remember the tagline for Dogma?
Oh, fuck.
The tagline, get touched by an angel.
God.
That's back when movies had taglines. They were good. And
Well, a lot of these movies, I don't think, well, maybe Dogma. Dogma could be made today, but Chasing Amy in this, in the political fervor that we're, everything getting canceled and whatnot, that movie could not be made. And so just to go a little bit forward real quick and get past all this other stuff, after that was Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. Then he decided to leave the View Askew universe, Jersey Girl, and started doing these other movies. Cop Out was another one. And he wasn't, honestly, Cop Out was hilarious. It didn't find a lot of success.
him and Bruce Willis got into it on Cop Out.
Yeah, Bruce Willis, I hear, is a fucking dipshit. So
Yeah.
I love Die Hard, but fuck you, Bruce Willis. You can't be mean to Kevin Smith.
I like Fifth Element, but he was
Oh,
like...
Fifth Element's really good, too.
He was complaining a lot because he was saying, like, the director's chair was full of weed smoke and you could never see Kevin Smith's face during the direction because it was just a fog of weed smoke. He's like, this guy was unprofessional and all kinds of shit. So
You also had Tracy Morgan on the set.
yeah, Tracy Morgan was in it. So it's like, yeah, professionalism has gone out the window. Not to say that Tracy Morgan isn't a professional actor. It's just that his character, who he is as a person,
Yeah.
is I'd be chill working with Tracy Morgan. I'm like, yes, like
100%.
I'm excited. They're not in the same realm of acting, him and Bruce Willis. So
Film-wise, he started getting into other ones too. Like the best one that I had seen out of the new ones, because I will be honest with you, I don't like a lot of his new films. I still appreciate them, like Yoga Hosers and Tusk. I know, you have something you want to possibly say about Tusk, but the one that I liked the most out of his most recent films, and the Jay and Silent Bob reboot, I didn't really need it. You also had Clerks 2, which went back to the View Askew universe, but the one that stuck with me and that I liked, and it was my introduction to, because I was still in school, the Red Camera, he filmed it all on digital, was Red State.
yes, that's another good film with a phenomenal actor, Michael Parks, who passed away. Really good.
Oh my
really
God.
Good film, yeah.
So good. John Goodman's in it. I think it's Kevin Pollak, too.
Yeah.
A lot of the stuff, and a couple young actors, but it's basically like a Westboro Baptist church that, is killing these people. They've gone past the, God hates whomever, because God hates so much. And then, okay, I don't know if this is true, but Westboro Baptist Church, their leader had passed away, but Fred Phelps, from what I understand, though, he took back all the stuff that he had said. God doesn't hate all this stuff. And I'm like, yeah, you're doing that on your fucking deathbed? Burn in hell, son of a bitch.
Yeah. It happens. It's usually like that. Like you're on your deathbed and you renounce everything that you've said at that point. That's already been done. The Simpsons did an episode on that.
Yeah. When on my deathbed, when someone's like, "Do you want to ask for forgiveness for your sins?" And you're like, "Tell the devil I'm coming."
Damn. What are you, Clint Eastwood?
No.
Hey, that's going all in.
No. When I'm on my deathbed, I'm gonna be like, "God, Jesus, please." Jesus, wait, no, what is it? Jesus, Buddha. God, Jesus, Buddha, I love you all.
But you guys just mentioned Dogma. I know we just drove past it, but I just saw a story a few years ago that blew me away. One of the, a huge fan of that movie was Prince. And basically Prince, in a very Prince way, reached out to Kevin Smith. Have you guys heard this story?
No.
Really?
I think I might have a little bit, but I don't 100% know. I think he might have done it on his podcast.
Yeah, look it up, because I'll butcher the story. But long story short, Prince, I guess, was a big fan of Dogma, and he liked the spiritual themes of it, and he wanted Kevin Smith to, do a documentary on, I guess, him, on Prince. So he went to Paisley Park, hung out with him for several days. Basically, at the end of it, he was like, this motherfucker... we filmed all this stuff that Kevin Smith was like, I don't know what the hell I'm even filming, because he would basically do a performance in front of some people he invited there, and then he'll start talking about religion. And at the end of it, he said after filming for several days, he's like, okay, what do you want me to do with this? And it just became like, well, we'll just shelf it, all that work.
Oh my God.
And he was like, he just finally figured out that that's what Prince did. He had this abundance, and as we all know, since his death, of just all this thousands and thousands of footage, hours of footage of things that he's shot for songs that he never released, and he would just hoard them. And he just
So I imagine Prince performing Little Red Corvette and then talking about Jesus saving your life.
Oh, he was Jehovah's Witness, so he was basically Kevin Smith figured out he probably just got me there just to kind of recruit me to be a Jehovah's Witness.
Yeah. She wore a raspberry beret. Do you know Jesus loves you?
What was the guy, Morris Day, in an interview in the podcast? He was like, yeah, because they would go back and forth in their relationship of being friends and not friends. And Morris Day was like, yeah, it got to the point sometimes he would try to convert me to be a Jehovah's Witness. And it'd be times where we were going to work on a project, this great album, and he would just nah, you know what? I don't feel comfortable working with someone who's not a Jehovah's Witness. If you become a Jehovah's Witness, then we can release it. And he's like, well, no.
Jesus.
And he would go home. He'll be at home sometimes, and Jehovah's Witnesses will knock at his door because Prince requested them to do that. They specifically came because of Prince. They were following him around. Yeah, Prince was a motherfucker, man.
Oh yeah, Prince summoned me. He told me to.
Yes. But he loved Dogma, and Kevin Smith was like, he knew the character names, but when he would say things about the movie, Kevin Smith was like, I didn't say that in the movie. He said he had to literally rewatch his own movie just to try to line up what Prince was saying. He was like, what movie were you watching? But anyway, he was a big fan of Prince, and he went anyway. But look that shit up on YouTube. It's Kevin Smith is entertaining. He's funny.
I think you can find there's a video of him actually talking about it too, because I think I remember watching it, or that's how I knew about it. But yeah, to move on from Red State, Tusk would be one of the next ones, or at least one of the, because he does have other films, but honestly, I can't remember all of them. The one, Yoga Hosers, I think came out after Tusk because people liked the two characters, which is Johnny Depp's daughter and his daughter, Harley Quinn.
Yeah, it's coming in. He has another film coming out soon called Kilroy Was Here, which is a comedy horror anthology.
Well, the best thing about Kevin Smith, even when his films flop, he knows why. He'll say in interviews
He's making movies for himself now. Which is not everyone's gonna like it, and some people are. But I appreciate the fact that he's still doing independent film, and now he's doing the podcasts and all that stuff, and he's still writing comic books, and he's still a big part of the nerd culture. And when it comes to San Diego Comic-Con, he's the king. one of the kings there.
What do you say? King shit of shit mountain?
King shit of fuck mountain.
Oh, there you go.
That's what he is, which, as we are speaking right now, and I'm not sure if anything else has come out, but that was something off of Mr. Show, Bob and David, which is Bob Odenkirk. But yeah, anyways, back to Kevin Smith. So we're getting into some of the other stuff that he says. Smodcast was another thing that he started. The other thing, too, is that people that he's surrounded by are also very successful. You know, like Matt Damon, Ben Affleck. He kind of knew them before they had gotten big. I don't know if he just knew them through, like, acting circles or whatnot, or possibly writing circles, because they're actors, but they got really popular because of writing Good Will Hunting, which he executive produced along with Scott Mosier. The Tell 'em Steve Dave podcast, which is basically friends of Kevin Smith's that do a podcast together.
Well, Kevin Smith met Ben Affleck on the set of Mallrats because he casted him for that, and that was before.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, he was in that movie. It flopped. And Ben Affleck wasn't famous yet, so...
And even when they did Chasing Amy, he wasn't famous either.
No, exactly. And that's what I'm leading to, because they became friends on Mallrats. And he said Ben Affleck, he slept on Kevin Smith's couch while they were doing it. They only had a $250,000 budget, like I said. But he liked the script, but it flopped. So Chasing Amy was kind of like their last chance to kind of prove themselves in Hollywood. And this is Kevin Smith saying that on a podcast, that he said that basically they were in the same spot. Ben Affleck was on his last leg and Kevin Smith was on his last leg, because they all kind of Hollywood thought that he might be a one-hit wonder. Like, oh, you can do Clerks, but you can't do nothing else, huh?
Yeah.
And Chasing Amy came out, it did well, and Ben Affleck kind of sprung from that movie and did other things. But yeah, it started on Mallrats, of him being friends with Ben Affleck.
I did not know that.
Yeah. He said he prepared for that role like it was a play almost, because it was a low budget film, and he said he slept on the couch and the crew was just tight and they just rehearsed it like a play. And bada bing, bada boom, we get Ben Affleck because of Kevin Smith, kind of. And he wrote, of course, they went on to...
Good Will Hunting, which
but he might not have gotten that chance,
Oh yeah, no, there would have been no way. The fact that him and Matt Damon, I don't know how long they had been writing that for, but they were able to get it into his hands, who then I think he gave it to the one that shall not be named.
Well, Miramax.
Weinstein.
Miramax.
Yeah, Weinstein.
Oh yeah,
but he was Weinstein. Weinstein was at Miramax at the
time. He was the head.
You see that tick. And then you have other people that were in his films, Brian Johnson and Walt Flanagan, who also appear on the TV show that was on AMC that is now defunct and canceled, Comic Book Men. I was listening to a podcast recently, and they were it was a Smodcast podcast. They were talking about how COVID affected the comic book store. They were getting ready to close it, and Walt Flanagan, who runs his comic book store, which is, I'm going to go there one day. It's like another thing that I want to do, a nerd related thing. I want to go to Point Pleasant, visit Mothman or whatever, and go to Hocking Hills, try to find Frogman, and then just other nerd related shit, San Diego Comic-Con. And hopefully if we get big enough, we'll be invited there.
That would be so great. That's my Graceland to go there.
We'll just stay at your house, Jonathan.
Yeah, that'd be great, man.
But yeah, to just kind of discuss a little bit for that, I think you wanted to talk about Tusk a little bit, Jonathan.
Yeah, so Tusk has his same original players in it, with the exception of Haley Joel Osment, who's kind of new to it. But I really enjoyed Tusk when it first came out, because I listened to the podcast that produced it, Smodcast, when they were talking about how they were going to go about making this movie. And it pretty much was a shot for shot of the podcast that they talked about. Johnny Depp was in it as well. Lily Depp and Harley Quinn Smith are both in it, which in itself is a spinoff of Yoga Hosers. It was just fascinating to listen to that.
Or Yoga Hosers is a spinoff
of Tusk.
Yeah.
It was supposed to be a trilogy, so it's supposed to be Tusk, Yoga Hosers, and then Moose Jaws, but I don't see Moose Jaws look like it's getting started. Look like he went into Kilroy Was Here, And I was talking about it earlier, Kilroy Was Here is based off of graffiti art. You've probably seen it before. The long nose dude with
yeah, I remember hearing something about this.
It's a horror movie that they're getting ready to come out called Kilroy Was Here. That's going to be a trilogy. And like you guys said, I think he's making more movies for himself. He's making it for his enjoyment, and then it's like the audience is secondary.
Yeah.
So I don't fault him for that. You know, like if he wants to do that, then more power to him. You know, I definitely like his thinking, his creativity. That's why I listen to the podcast the way I do. And I hope when we get big enough, we're able to do something like that. We discuss a movie and now we're able to go shoot it. So that
I would love to do that.
And that's one of the reasons why I got into Kevin Smith is just the audacity of the guy and learning how he made Clerks and how, I mean, he'll even tell you himself, don't do what the hell I did. Max out credit card, $27,000 worth of credit card debt on something that...
Yeah, I had heard something about it. I think my brother told me about it, and I'm like, what the fuck is that about? But then they just started, I think, was it this week or last week, production on Clerks 3.
Yeah, I heard about that as well. So I know that they're doing a third one, but where's it going to take place? Is it back at the Quick Stop or?
It has to, because that's and I don't know if they're going to, because he likes to put his daughter in the film, so it may be that their kids are running the Quick Stop now.
Yeah.
Because Dante is with the Rose McGowan character, which, how the fuck did you pull that? Anyways, because if you look at Dante, and not to say that what's his name isn't a handsome fellow, but you know, he's getting older, and Rose McGowan is hot as shit. Sorry.
Yeah, and I'm wondering, is she cast? Is she going to be in it?
I am assuming she is, but you know what? I haven't even checked the actual cast. There's not a lot of info on it yet because they just started. I don't know if they started pre-production, but I thought they were starting production on it, which probably means it's going to come out within the next year or two. Also, Mallrats 2, which I don't know if that was put on the back burner because of Shannon Doherty, everything that's been going on with her and her diagnosis. I
just read something about that. One of those sequels, Dogma. There was supposed to be a sequel to Dogma, but it got canceled.
Yeah, that got canceled. I think he said in 2017 it was never going to happen because what he was going to have to touch on, the original thing had popped up in a some type of like nerd channel forum, whatnot, saying that, after September 11th, there were talks of it, but he would have to touch on Islam now in order to do it. And that's still a subject that you don't fuck with that. Otherwise, you're going to get a fucking, a mail bomb, maybe.
Yeah, it's a sticky subject.
Yeah, where it's like Christians, nowadays too, like they'll fucking send you a nail bomb or something. Or.
But anyway, Kevin Smith. I will say that we can all agree that in one way, shape, or form, Kevin Smith has been pivotal in our lives.
Yes.
Respectively. So we can say that people like Kevin Smith. Because I was going to say Jay and Silent Bob Gets Old is a really good podcast as well, because that's how he was keeping Jason Mewes sober.
Yep.
So I thought that only a true friend would do something like that. Do a whole show where you're there to keep your friend from falling off the wagon.
100%. Loves his fans. 100%.
Yes. Oh, yeah. And then the other thing, too, was when Carrie Fisher died, if you listen to that episode, his dedication to Carrie Fisher, it was heartbreaking because he was so in love with her. As far as a person, because they worked together on
Dogma was the first one.
Yeah, Carrie Fisher was also in Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. Yeah, and he talked about how Jason Mewes was saying all this stuff to her, like, oh, I do this to you, da 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 da, and she pretty much broke him down. And they became friends after that. She would call and check on him because she recognized that he had something going on, and she began to check on Jason Mewes, and what she did was check him. Yeah. And normally that's what happens with people like that. People like that, if you check them, they become putty because they're not used to being
confronted like that.
Confronted like that. Like when you're like, no, you're not. You're not going to do that. then at that point, they're just like, yes, I am. And they're like, no, you're not. And that's what she did, and turned him on his ass and pretty much started checking on him. And then, the rest is history. But Kevin Smith told a story about how when he was little, he wanted to play football, and he was a big guy, and they were trying to get him motivated. So he's like, what motivates you? And he's like, Carrie Fisher. And he's like, they started talking trash about Carrie Fisher, and it made him mad to the point where he was able to play football the way he was supposed to be playing.
No shit.
Yeah, that was something he mentioned on the podcast, and I hope he listens to us one day so he can correct me if I'm wrong.
He did have some health troubles the past couple years where he basically had a heart attack that was the widowmaker, but they were able to get to him quick enough. And he is full vegan and doesn't tout it. He's not like, well, I'm vegan.
Yes.
I can't go running. I'm vegan. I can't breathe air. I'm vegan. I just recently listened to talk about Scott Mosier, recently listened to a Smodcast episode where they got back together again because they hadn't worked together, or I don't know if they, I'm not going to get into the drama of this shit, but they talked and it was like nothing had changed, at least in my head. I'm like listening to him, I'm like, oh, this is pretty good. He's got a few films coming out, but I was going to mention something like the whole He-Man thing that's going on right now. What he created. People are like posting it all over the place that he, lied about what was happening with it, and then it's very female oriented and whatnot. And you see, this is where I struggle with it because I think those people are just like, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this show isn't for kids. I don't think it is.
I watched it with my son. It wasn't bad.
Not at all.
The voice acting is what gave me the nerdgasm because it's fantastic voice acting, man. Like, you got some really good actors in there for that. But the first episode, I don't want to give anything away. I was just like, wow. Like, the first episode, I was so taken aback by the action and what had happened, what had taken place. Because at first, I was like, He-Man Revelations. I was like, oh, this battle is going to hit a crescendo. And first episode, I was like, what the fuck did I just watch? Like, it was so out there, but I enjoyed it. But to your point, Aaron, I think a lot of people have a problem when it's a female lead in a show like that. Because it's these incels, man. It's these people who are like
simping over fucking He-Man. Like, oh, I remember He-Man when I was a kid. It's not what I want. I want big muscles, a big dick with a big mushroom tip hair thing.
And it's the same thing. It's the same thing when She-Ra came out. It was the same thing with She-Ra. Like, why is she so muscular? She should have bigger boobs. I don't understand why she's built like that.
I want to see bigger boobs.
I want to see bigger breasts.
There's good things about nerd culture, and then there's really fucking toxic things about nerd culture.
Yeah.
Where it's like the whole Batman v Superman, and I'm like, okay, it wasn't the greatest movie. Gotham and Metropolis are not across the river from one another. 100%. No. That is ridiculous. Was Ben Affleck a good Batman? Fuck yeah, he was. Go fight. Give me a fucking break. Henry Cavill is my Superman. But with the whole Michael B. Jordan thing, I'm interested to see what they do. If you're doing films based off of woke culture, though, and like woke comedy, anything woke in general, things are going to progressively get worse because you're not going to take chances.
No, you're not. And like I said, you could have did Val Zod. That was the Black Superman. You could have went that way. You could have went with Steel. As I said before, another podcast that I was talking to on Twitter brought up a very valid point. There are a lot of African-American characters that are not fleshed out yet. Like the whole thing with Cyborg.
Yeah.
Cyborg needs a story.
Yes.
And the fact that we're gonna reboot and say, hey, we need to have a Black Superman now, rather than focus on Ray Fisher's phenomenal performance as Cyborg, is astonishing.
100%.
Yeah. Cyborg needs a story. He was the heart of that film. And the fact that he's not getting his due because DC doesn't want to...
Not DC.
Not DC, but...
Warner Brothers. Warner Brothers wants nothing to do with it.
Yeah. They don't want to apologize to Ray Fisher, even though he kept the receipts and has everything that Walter Hamada or whoever it was. Before we sign off, what's your favorite Kevin Smith film?
It's going to be between, well, you know what? It's Dogma. 100% Dogma. Yeah. That was the first one, and still to this day. Actually, I'm probably going to rent that tonight. Get a pizza. Yeah, 707. No, I got to work out.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, some za.
Some
Get
Chuck E. Cheese pizza, right?
Oh, real quick. From the Chuck E. Cheese Showbiz Pizza place, I took the kids to Chuck E. Cheese this last weekend.
How they like it?
Oh, of course they love it. It's the guy. I remember we were going in there and everyone seemed to be having a good time. And this the dude comes up, it's like, "You all having a good time? You having a good time?"
Was
and
he
I'm like,
Matthew McConaughey?
having a good time.
All right.
No, it was just some like old black dude that came up. He was just so happy to be there, and I'm like, "Fuck yeah, dude! yeah, we're having a good time." This pizza sucks though.
No, it doesn't.
Did they have beer there?
No, they do not have beer. This Chuck E. Cheese, and I was right. They said is like one of the reasons why we don't serve beer here is because we've had so many fights break out here, and I was fucking right with that Chuck E.
It's
Cheese.
the cost of doing business. You
Yeah,
got the
exactly.
pizza, you got the
Well,
beer.
it's not like Happy's Pizza up in Detroit where you get a 40 ounce with every large.
Fuck yeah, dude.
Happy
Fuck
food,
yeah.
doing great.
But yeah, no, their pizza sucks, man. I'm sorry. Like I'll if I can, I will go up there, get us a pizza, we will taste test, Don. We'll have like a little fucking video of us eating. We're not gonna eat there because it'd be really fucking weird, just like we talked about.
Admittedly, if you get rid of the beer from a joint like that, then yeah, probably the pizza doesn't taste as good. I admit that. If I'm drunk off beer or buzzed, then everything tastes good to me.
Like White Castles, dude. White Castles aren't the best.
No.
But when you're drunk, they're fantastic because they soak up the alcohol. They're
Exactly.
so
And
good.
then all that alcohol leaves the next morning
Oh
when
my
you take
God.
a massive shit.
Yeah, egress. It takes you to egress. But all right, so my favorite Kevin Smith film would have to be Clerks 2. The reason why I like Clerks 2 is because there's so many quotable scenes in that movie. My favorite is the Lord of the Rings versus Star Wars argument that they had at the counter. That has me in tears every time when the dude breaks out and says, "Hey, I'm going to kick your ass back to the Shire." That always tickles me, dude.
What does he say? It's a 3-hour film about them just walking.
Was walking.
Yeah.
The one dude that steals the scene is when he's walking and he's doing. Here's the first movie.
Oh, Randall, the guy that plays Randall.
Oh well, Randall, but the guy who's the two dudes who are sitting at the table, and when he sees Randall walking, he's like, "Fucking A."
Oh yeah, it's the dude in the fucking background, but he's like, and then all of a sudden, Sam bricks in Frodo's mouth.
Yeah. He's like. And he throws up and shit like that. He's like, I just made one of those flow. I'm not gonna say there's a hard F that he uses, but yeah, that
Fart?
that was.
Nailed it.
What's your favorite, Don?
Well, before I say it, Clerks 2, I read that that was Kevin Smith's favorite movie that he ever did, which is weird because I would have thought it would be the one that I thought and the one that I picked for my favorite movie, which inspired me while I was in film class with you guys, was Clerks 1. It was like, oh man, this is low budget, but the humor is sharp. They're, even though they're not really doing anything, it's moving the plot along. I don't know. It inspired me, man.
Day in the life.
Day in a life, man. And then when I learned that how he produced the film with his own money, maxing out his credit cards, dropping out of film school, which, by the way, all this fucking debt.
Who among us hasn't done that?
I wish I could go back and be like, yo, great meeting you guys. I'm dropping out. Because he dropped out, 4 months, I read, going to the Vancouver Film School. And just bouncing.
All he needed to do was just find Scott Mosier. That was it.
Yeah.
And then everything came to fruition.
And that's how it worked. If I could go back in time, we would have started this podcast as soon as we met. Hey guys, I have an idea. Let's drop out of college and let's get the ball rolling.
Right.
Like,
hey, my name's Aaron. All right. Well, that is it for After School Special Podcasts on Kevin Smith. I'm going to do whatever I can to see if he can listen to it. I'm not going to really talk about that movies thing. You know, I spent a lot of money on that stuff. I'm not angry about it because it wasn't Kevin Smith's fault.
Nope.
It was the guy that he put in charge. And fuck that guy. I still don't know his name and don't want to know it.
Serenity now! Serenity now!
Tag Kevin Smith and fucking right.
Fuck yeah, dude. Well, maybe he'll say hi. Hi, Kevin Smith. Hi.
Hi, be our friend, please.
Can you get me a Funko signed by you? That would be great.
All right.
All right, guys.
Bye.
Eat
Bye.
pepperoni and pineapple pizza.
Shut the fuck up. Hey guys, it's Aaron. You think you could do me a big fave? Wherever you're listening to this right now, rate and subscribe. Find new episodes every Wednesday where you listen to podcasts. And look for us on all the social media sites and Gmail at Afterschoolspecialpodcasts at Gmail, Afterschoolspecialpodcasts at Instagram and Facebook, and AfterschoolSPE3 on Twitter.
Yeah. She wore a raspberry beret. Do you know Jesus loves you?